Welcome to the Kino Cave, and today I'm going to be talking about The Flash. So, The Flash follows Barry Allen as he goes back in time to save his mother from dying and ends up in a horrible reality that he needs to fix. The character of The Flash has meant a lot to me for a lot of years. I watched the TV show when I was about 12 years old, and it really informed my teenage years for a long time. I developed a lot of my personality and mannerisms around Barry Allen in the Flash TV show, and it's meant a lot to me, and the character has meant a lot to me ever since I watched that show. It definitely got me into the character in the comic books as well. I love Barry Allen. He is probably my top 5 favorite superheroes. This character has meant a lot to me for a long time. I read the comics for a while. I have watched the show, for better or worse, for the last nearly 10 years, and I've had a deep love for this character for a while, and I was so excited to see this movie. I even based a lot of my life choices around the Flash at that point. I wanted to be a forensic scientist for a while because of how much I loved that TV show, and then I realized how hard that would be to actually do. So I decided to go into filmmaking instead. And also, one of the things that I own that I'm most proud of is my copy of The Flash Season 1 on DVD, which I got signed by John Wesley Shipp. Totally terrific guy in real life. He is so nice, and it was just a joy to meet him. So anyway, getting into this movie, I'd like to get my biggest negative out of the way. The CGI is bad. It's not great. It's good in parts, but in total, it's not very good. It gets really distracting in a lot of the CGI heavy scenes, and I know that Andy Muschietti, who I love, he has said that a lot of that is intentional, and while I feel like it works in parts, it definitely doesn't in others. Like, you can't really explain away the bad CGI on some characters' faces, especially Batman. I get the strong sense that Ben Affleck was never actually in that costume. It was his stunt double. I love seeing Ben Affleck back as Bruce Wayne, but him as Batman looked strange. Although I still love the inclusion. And there's a lot of other special effects in this movie that I could tear it apart for days, and some of it's not great, some of it I feel is okay, but it can get very distracting at parts. I'd like to talk a little bit about Andy Muschietti, because he's getting a lot of flack nowadays, especially for the poor CGI in the Flash movies, and he recently was chosen to direct Batman the Brave and the Bold, which is part of James Gunn's DCU, and I don't know, I really like that choice. People are saying, oh, it's the guy with the bad CGI in the Flash movie, and it's the guy who made It too, and I feel like that's just not respecting his career at all. I mean, like, the first It movie is incredible from a story standpoint, a character standpoint, an atmospheric standpoint. And while It Chapter 2 has its issues, I think it's still a very well directed and very well crafted film. And I think the direction in The Flash is really, really good. I can see Andy Muschietti trying to push boundaries. He's trying to be different. He's trying to try things, and he's always trying to do something different and make you think about things in a different way. And I love the way he's doing that in this movie around comic books, and he's owing respect to the other DC characters, and I can't wait to see what he does with Batman. Batman is a very important character to me, which I'll get to later on, but I'm over the moon that Andy Muschietti is making a Batman movie. I can't wait to see how he handles that character. And I can't wait to see how he handles Robin as well, which I think is excellent. He's really great with directing kids. The child performances in the It movies are really, really good, and I can't wait to see how Andy Muschietti handles Robin. I can't wait to see how he handles Batman. I think he's going to direct the movie really, really well. Once you get past the poor visual effects, the cinematography in this movie I think is excellent. There's different things being tried all the time. The lighting is great. The camera moves are really, really good. Once you can get past the bad CGI, the actual cinematography in this movie is excellent. Another small negative with this movie is the score. I felt it was a bit of a letdown. I might be comparing it to the television show. I fucking love Blake Neely's music from the Flash TV show. Say whatever you want about that show. Listen to some of the music, especially from season 1. holy shit, it's perfect for the Flash. And obviously I didn't want them to just reuse that because that wouldn't make any sense for this movie, but I was hoping for a score that would at least live up to that, and this just isn't really that great. I also really love the story and characters in this film, and the themes as well. The characters feel real, they feel like they're really in this world, which feels strange to say, but I feel especially with superhero movies nowadays, characters feel more like stereotypes and archetypes rather than as actual people that live in this world. And Barry Allen, Kara Zor-El, Bruce Wayne, both Bruce Waynes, the characters in this film feel like they're actually in this world, which feels strange to say, but I think especially with superhero movies nowadays, characters can feel like they're just archetypes or stereotypes, or they're just there, whereas these characters feel like they're really living in this world. You know, Barry Allen, Kara Zor-El, the other Barry Allen, Bruce Wayne, the other Bruce Wayne, they all live in this world, and they feel real. They feel like real people dealing with these catastrophic events. I love the story. I love how this film handled Flashpoint. I know that people debate whether or not Flashpoint is actually a good story. I like it. I think it's a really nice read. It's not the most thought-provoking story. It's definitely not the best Flash story out there, but on its own, I think it's pretty good. I really like seeing it. I get really hyped up when I see all these different elements in it. But I do think that the Flash movie definitely adapts Flashpoint very well. It simplifies it down. It handles the story really well. It has the same core beats, but it gets rid of kind of the stuff that can make the Flashpoint book a little bit too bloated and taking the focus off of Barry. The movie keeps the focus on Barry Allen the entire time, which I love. However, when it comes to Flashpoint, I think it would have been better if maybe it was done in a second or third Flash film. I would have loved a Flash film that focused more on Barry learning to be a hero and learning how to be a better Flash, you know, in his own city, in Central City, maybe taking on one of his more smaller villains, like maybe some of the Rogues, Captain Cold maybe, or Mirror Master, or Captain Boomerang, maybe something a little more small scale to start out with, but this movie's still pretty good. I think it handles Flashpoint really well. That being said, I really want to see a Flash movie that is a bit more down to earth and just feels a bit smaller in terms of its scale and its stakes. I love the themes in this film as well. I love the theme of what defines you as a person. I love the ideas of if this event didn't happen to you, how would you turn out? Is this what makes me who I am? All of this is great. It's really hard to like discuss these themes without going into spoilers, so the point is the theme of what defines you as a person, which is prevalent throughout this film. It's really, really great. Finally, for the non-spoilery part of this review, the acting is absolutely fantastic. Quite possibly the best part of this movie is its acting. Michael Keaton is great as Batman. Falls right back into the suit. He is just perfect. I actually found that the worst point for him is when he's just rehashing lines from the previous movie. The "let's get nuts" line does not work for me in the film at all. But luckily, there's very few just reciting lines from the previous movies. Batman really feels like his own character in this. I was really worried about how they'd handle Michael Keaton's Batman in this movie, but safe to say he is his own character in this. He's not just repeating lines or repeating stuff from the previous movies. It's not just fan service or cameos. He is here for a reason. He is given a lot of character development. He's given a lot of things to do character wise, and Michael Keaton is clearly so happy to be back in that suit. Ben Affleck is also really good. It was so nice to see him as Batman. He was one of those actors who he was really just done dirty by the films that he was in and the backlash he got from fans and all this stuff that happens with Snyder and all that. It's nice to see him, I think, in Zack Snyder's Justice League and in this film, it's so nice to see him play Batman the way he used to in Batman vs. Superman. He's very clearly just relaxed in his role. He's very clearly happy to be there, and he looks really, really well. And you can tell that he's just happy to be kind of rounding out his arc as Batman and just kind of finishing off. And he's just glad that he can go out on a good note. Sasha Cal, I think that's how I pronounce her name. Apologies if I mispronounced it, but she's excellent as Supergirl. Honestly, probably for nostalgic reasons, I am a bit more partial to Melissa Benoist. I don't know, Supergirl actors and their names, but Melissa will always be my Supergirl, I think, at least for now, because I grew up watching the show, and she just really looks the part for me with the outfit and, you know, the blonde hair and stuff. But Sasha Cal is really, really good. I would love to see more of her. I'd love to see her get her own film, maybe, as Supergirl. She's excellent in the role. She very clearly, when you see the behind the scenes and when you see her in the movie, she is so happy to be Supergirl. She is just ecstatic about this role, I feel, and you can see that on screen. She's giving it her all in this movie, and I would love to see more of her in her own film or just in any film that she gets the chance to be in. I really hope this isn't a one and done for her. Finally, you have to talk about Ezra Miller. They're in like 95% of the scenes in this movie. So I will say I do not condone their actions in real life in the past few years. I think something definitely needs to be done about that. I'm glad to see that they're getting help, if that is indeed what they're doing, but some sort of justice probably needs to be done beyond that. I won't really get into it because I want these videos to be lighthearted and I want to focus on the film rather than focus on real life implications surrounding these films. But just to say, I don't condone anything that Ezra Miller has done. So whenever I praise them in this review, it's purely by their performance and nothing to do with how they are in real life. That being said, Ezra Miller is really, really good in this movie. They really give it their all. There's so many scenes that just really get you emotionally, and them having to play two separate versions of Barry Allen at different points in his life and different maturity levels and with different life events after happening to Barry Allen. Ezra really pulled it off in that respect, and it's their best performance as the Flash yet. So I'm going to be talking about spoilers for the Flash movie from now on. This is your warning. Full spoilers from now on. One thing that I really love about this movie, one of my favorite things, is that Barry Allen is his own villain. Not even in the sense of the Dark Flash, but Barry's the one that fucks up the universe. He goes back, he saves his mother, he wakes up in a world without superheroes, everything around him is messed up, so even though there is a physical manifestation of his need to save everyone and make the universe perfect, I love the idea that Barry is his own villain, in both a physical way and in a metaphorical way. I also love Barry and young Barry. I love, like, some people say that he's a little too obnoxious, the younger version of him. I loved it. It didn't bother me a single bit. Maybe it's because, I don't know, I might be of the age where I can almost relate to the younger Barry, where it's just like you kind of just want to take everything as it comes and you just want to have fun, and you're just getting thrust into these situations and you're not taking them as seriously because you don't really care. And I don't know, like, I was 18 a very short time ago, and I just I really loved the young Barry Allen in this, and he's also given a lot of serious moments as well. One moment that I particularly love is when the older Barry is kind of nagging him, and young Barry is like, "Geez, mom," and obviously he doesn't know that the whole situation they're in is because of Barry's mom's death. And I love when older Barry really gives him a talking to. And again, with young Barry, I love towards the end, he thinks he can fix everything. He thinks that he can save Supergirl and save Batman. He thinks he can right every single wrong. And how he develops into Dark Flash, I really, really loved that sort of twist. I think it was really excellent. My jaw was on the floor when I was watching it. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. It was really a really good example of writing. Also on the character of Barry Allen, the scene towards the end when Barry fixes everything and lets his mother die, that was a really emotional scene. I got a little choked up watching it. The TV show did it better though. Definitely the TV show did it way better. I full on bawled when the TV show did it. But I really liked the movie version of it as well, and I got very emotional watching it. So very well done. With Sasha Calle's Supergirl, she's definitely given a lot of character in this. Not a ton, but I think that's okay. This is a Flash movie. The focus is very much on Barry Allen, which I was afraid that it wouldn't be. I think everybody was afraid that the focus would be taken away from Barry, but I think Supergirl is also given just enough. I liked the sort of twist that Kal-El never made it to Earth in this timeline. I like how angry Supergirl gets at that, and again, I really want to see more of this version of Supergirl. I really hope that Sasha Calle gets another movie. Maybe they can do something where she gets to come across to James Gunn's DCU. Anything can happen in that respect. So God, like, just don't bother recasting her. She's great. I've already kind of said all I need to say about Michael Keaton in the spoiler-free section of this review, but just a little bit more on the let's get nuts line. I think, because he does the full thing, you want to get nuts, let's get nuts. And that seems really weird with the context of what's said just before then. I think maybe if it was shortened to just let's get nuts, it would be fine, but even then, you don't need that line. Like, and Keaton doesn't really look like he wants to say that line either. The I'm Batman line makes sense, because it's a famous line for the character. But, I don't know, the let's get nuts line, you really didn't need it. If you had to include another line, include, like, anything else. And this is definitely a topic for a Batman 89 and Batman Returns video, but I'm actually really struggling to remember memorable quotes from Batman in those movies. Anyway, those movies get a video all in themselves sometime in the future. As well, I love that Michael Keaton wasn't bogged down by all the references and stuff like that. He's given his own character. He's given character development. He's given a lot to work with, and I just really loved him in this movie. And he didn't overshadow Barry, which is also great. He severely overshadows Barry in the marketing, but in the film, the focus is a little bit on him, but always on Barry. And I still love Michael Keaton's scenes. He's so happy to be back in this role again. You can very clearly tell. And Batman is my favorite fictional character of all time. So obviously I'm going to be very sort of picky and harsh when it comes to Batman, because he's very important to me. And my love for Batman also deserves a video in itself. Expect a lot of Batman videos as the channel progresses. Speaking of Batmen, Ben Affleck is also really good in this. I liked his little opening action scene, even though it's very clearly not him in the suit. But it's still pretty good. I liked seeing Gal Gadot show up. You get the little Wonder Woman theme in there. Again, I wouldn't mind if she was kept in the DCU as well. Like, fuck it, who cares? Just keep all the actors that are good in it and want to be in it. And you can get rid of the other actors that were either not great, Jared Leto, and the actors that don't want to be in it, like Ben Affleck. And for the love of God, just rehire Henry Cavill and make Elseworlds stories with him, because goddamn did WB do him dirty. It was nice seeing Batman and Wonder Woman interact with the Flash as if they were all kind of friends and that they've been on the Justice League for a while, because in Snyder's Justice League, they're figuring out who they are, and they're definitely... Barry is definitely more immature, and they can't have many proper scenes together as friends. But it's very clear in this that they've had some experiences together. They're good friends now, and they get to talk to each other like that. And it was just really nice to see. It's nice to see these superheroes not facing the world-ending stakes. I think something that's definitely lost in a lot of superhero media nowadays across every medium, that every writer and maker of these medias feel like they need to give superheroes these world-ending or universe-destroying stakes in order to make them interesting. I want to see more superhero media just having them deal with the small stuff. Like, there is a bank robbery going on, and, you know, a couple of members of the Justice League need to come and stop the bank robbery. A hospital is about to collapse, so they need to save all the people inside. And, you know, it's not like a crazy big stake, so they can still have fun doing it because they know they're going to do it. And that allows for more interactions between these characters, which I think we desperately need. So, getting on to the giant elephant in the room, the cameos. So, the cameos in this movie range from really baffling and weird to fucking awesome. And I'm going to go through them. I have them all written down. All the cameos that are in the movie, I'll explain my thoughts on each of them briefly. And I'll also give suggestions for cameos that I kind of wish were in the movie. And it's a really weird topic to get into now. So many people are talking about this, and I don't know. This is going to be a tough one to go through. So starting off with Christopher Reeve's cameo as Superman. I don't think it's very necessary. I don't get why in this Flash movie that is largely to do with Barry Allen and Batman and Supergirl. I don't know why we're getting so many Supermen. So, I found the Christopher Reeve cameo to be very weird to think about. First of all, I don't see why it's really necessary to have him in the movie, especially since Christopher Reeve has passed. And while I think people are harshly judging the CGI, I think it looks fine in the movie. I think shitty screenshots from phones in the movie theater are not doing the CGI itself any justice. I liked seeing the Supergirl from that old movie from the 80s or 90s. I don't really have any special feelings towards that version of Supergirl. It was cool seeing her, but I don't know. I don't see the reason for Christopher Reeve being in the movie as this little cameo. It seems like a lot of work for very little payoff. And again, Christopher Reeve has passed, so I don't really see the point in using his likeness. And even if you were going to do that, use archival footage from the 4 Superman movies he was in. I don't know, it was very strange to me. I don't really see the need for it. I liked the Supergirl cameo from the one from the 80s, I believe. That was really cool. It's a kind of a deep DC cut, I guess. Not many people know about that movie, and I think it's really cool to see her in it. You see Adam West's Batman really briefly. Again, I don't get the reason. Adam West has passed on. It's better than the Christopher Reeve one, I think. Maybe because we only get a glimpse of him. But I don't know. I don't see the reason for it. There's so many actors who have played Batman that are still alive. As far as I know, Burt Ward is still alive. I'll correct that if I'm wrong, but I don't know. I don't see the point in having Adam West in this movie. Again, just having a CGI'd version of him. It's really weird seeing the George Reeves Superman. I don't see why many people would know him as Superman. Only really the hardcore fans would know him. I guess it's kind of cool seeing him, but again, I don't see the point. He doesn't have any relevance to the Flash in this movie. He doesn't have any relevance to this movie. Like, very few versions of Superman have anything to do with this movie. Henry Cavill would. If you want to do the kind of more Chris Reeve version of Superman, get Brandon Routh to do it. It's very weird having so many different versions of Superman in this that it just seems really unnecessary. That being said, I'm about to contradict myself and say that the Nick Cage version of Superman is fucking perfect. This is a movie that never got out. There were screen tests done, stories were done, Tim Burton was going to make it. And this has fallen into the realm of, like, pop culture myth about Nick Cage's Superman. People have talked about this quite a bit on the internet and in YouTube videos and stuff, but Nick Cage was almost Superman in the 90s, and I think that's really fucking cool, and I love how they went and did it in this movie. And he looks pretty good, and I don't know, it's great seeing his inclusions. I wanted to see more stuff like this, kind of movies that never were, and having actors who were in the movies that weren't very critically acclaimed coming back and doing their characters justice. And I kind of wish it was more stuff like that. We also see Jay Garrick Flash for a minute. Some people are saying that he's played by Teddy Sears. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe he is. I'll have to see the movie again. I'll have to see a clear look at Jay Garrick in it. Maybe it is Teddy Sears. If so, why? Just get John Wesley Shipp to do it. He's the good age for it. He's played Jay Garrick on the TV show. He's perfect in that role. Put him in a more classic looking Jay Garrick suit and do it. It's really weird. Either way, it makes sense that Jay Garrick's in this movie. I would have wished to see more Flash actors. Like, I'll get into it in a minute, but why isn't Grant Gustin in this? Either way, I loved seeing Jay Garrick. I wish we'd seen more speedsters maybe, and maybe more versions of Barry Allen, maybe even Wally West in this movie. The last cameo, and possibly my favourite cameo in the Flash movie, is George Clooney as Bruce Wayne at the end of the movie. That made me so stupidly happy. Batman and Robin's not a good movie, but it is a great movie to put on and just laugh at and have fun with. And I don't know, I feel like George Clooney wasn't given a fair shot as Batman, okay? That might be a hot take, I don't know. I feel like George Clooney could have been a great Batman if the circumstances were a bit better with the studio and things like that. But man, it was just so good seeing him. Like, I had this big massive smile on my face when I saw him. I kind of saw it coming in the last scene, but holy shit, just seeing him there as Bruce Wayne was just, it was perfect. I absolutely loved seeing that. And again, this is calling back to my point. Get actors who either didn't get a chance to play their superhero or didn't get a chance to do their version of the character justice, like George Clooney and Nick Cage and Brandon Routh. These are the guys that you need. Everybody laughed when George Clooney showed up. It was perfect. It's exactly what you needed. And I kind of would have loved to see him in a batsuit as well, but that's too much effort, I feel. And I'm pretty sure that this scene was reshot once or twice. The filmmakers didn't know whether they wanted to use Michael Keaton or whether they wanted to use George Clooney, but I'm so happy they went with George Clooney. It was just such a great way to end this movie. It probably is my favourite cameo. One, because I love Batman, and two, because it was just hilarious and so weirdly satisfying seeing him in this. So now I'm going to get into cameos that I kind of wish I had seen in The Flash. Cameos that I felt were more right for it than ones like Christopher Reeve or George Reeves or Teddy Sears, if he is in this. So these are kind of a list of actors and characters, just kind of off the top of my head, really, to characters that I wish I'd seen instead. Obviously, Grant Gustin and John Wesley Shipp should have been in this in some way. I feel like John Wesley Shipp should have been Jay Garrick. He plays the character really well in the TV show, and he's the right age for it. And they put Jay Garrick in the film anyway, so just have John Wesley Shipp fucking loves The Flash. I feel like he would have absolutely come in and shot a couple of scenes. And also, Grant Gustin very much loves being The Flash, and it would have been so nice to get a nice send-off to his character. Him and Ezra Miller have already met in the Crisis on Infinite Earths event in the TV show, so why not just have them meet up again, give us a scene with Grant Gustin, give us a bit of a send-off with his character. I don't know what happened. Like, I don't see why he couldn't have fit in this movie. It's really weird to me. I feel like he should definitely have been put in. This one is tricky, but I think Cavill's Superman should have been in it, and not a CGI faced, or, you know, you look at him from the back version of Cavill's Superman. I don't want to get into this too much, but what happened with Henry Cavill is not okay. Getting fired, and then rehired, and then fired again is just not cool. I would have loved to see him in another Superman movie. Just do Man of Steel 2 or whatever. Get Zack Snyder to direct it. Why not? Like, just, they're doing Elseworld stories anyway with Joker and Batman. Henry Cavill was really done dirty, and he should definitely have been given something in this movie as well. Again, like with Ben Affleck, give him a bit of a send-off. If you're not going to bring him back, give him a satisfying send-off instead of a cameo in a post-credit scene of a different movie. It really bothers me how they treated Henry Cavill in the last few years as Superman, because goddamn did he love playing Superman. Another one that should have been obvious, I feel, is Brandon Routh. I don't see why Brandon Routh wasn't in this. He is perfectly willing to come back and play Superman because he did in the Crisis on Infinite Earths event. It would have been really cool to see his character from Superman Returns come back, and again, doing justice to actors who weren't given a fair shot. Brandon Routh is great as Superman. He looks scarily like Christopher Reeves. Put him in the fucking suit instead of doing CGI with Christopher Reeves. I don't see it. I don't see why they didn't use Brandon Routh. Hell, continue on his stuff from Crisis on Infinite Earths and put him in that Kingdom Come suit. Or I think he was put in a more classic Superman suit at the end of it, but still, do that. Continue on his story. Give him a little cameo. Even if it's just like a 2-second look at him, it would have been better than what we got, I think. Another actor I feel like should have been given a shot. If you're going to go with Superman actors, put in Dean Cain. You know, I never really had any attachment to him as Superman, but I think he would definitely want to come back and do it. In terms of other Superman actors, Tyler Hoechlin is still playing Superman on a TV show, Superman and Lois. I've not watched the TV show really. I watched the first 2 episodes. I never really got into it. But from what I hear, it's really, really good. He's still playing Superman. Put him in as a cameo. Put him in for 2 seconds instead of CGIing a different actor who's passed on. In terms of Superman actors as well, this one I could take or leave, but Tom Welling. Again, he came back for Crisis on Infinite Earths. I think he didn't want to be in the suit, though. I think that was his condition for coming back. But even then, just throw him in there in like regular clothes, or put him in a Superman t-shirt or something. I don't know. He's just an option. I feel like you didn't need to put him in, but it's better than George Reeves or Christopher Reeve. And as well, this is a film that focuses a lot on Supergirl. Put in Melissa Benoist's Supergirl. Why not? Like, her show only just ended a couple of years ago. Why not have her come in and do a little cameo, maybe a little send-off to her character, since it doesn't look like she's going to play that character again. There's just, again, it's another option that's better than what they went with, in my opinion. And finally, 2 actors I just wanted to kind of mention that, you know, it would have been cool to see them. Christian Bale's Batman, again, better than using Adam West, an actor who has passed on, and just CGIing him. Why not just have Christian Bale? He doesn't even need to be in a bat suit. Just throw him in and just have him be in the Batcave or something. I don't know. Again, it's better than using Adam West, an actor who's passed on and who you can't do that character justice anymore because the actor's long gone. And as well, if you want to use Batman actors, I don't really see how you could use Val Kilmer, because he's looking pretty shook nowadays. Loved him as Batman, by the way, but why not throw him in some capacity? Have him be like an old man Bruce Wayne or something. So I just wanted to roll off a few cameos that I think should have been in the movie, because I like talking about this stuff, and I also want to say Crisis on Infinite Earths, the TV show event, did this concept of having a bunch of old actors come in to play their characters again. I think that the Crisis on Infinite Earths TV show event did this much, much better. And if you want a good example of using old actors who've played superheroes to come in for cameos, like 9 times out of 10, Crisis on Infinite Earths did a lot of justice to those. So with that being said, those are my thoughts on the Flash movie. Really, really good movie. A couple of things bring it down a notch, but overall, I liked it. I maybe even loved it for a lot of reasons, as I've just explained. So comment below, let me know what you think of the movie. The discourse is pretty, you know, the fan base is pretty split on people who love it and people who hate it. I think some of it is a little bit, maybe people are getting a little bit too riled up and a little too excited over certain things about this movie, but I don't know, that's on them. I absolutely love this movie. I think it's definitely worth going to see. I think it's very good, and I guess this is sort of like the send-off to the DCEU. I know that Aquaman's supposed to be coming out, but this seems more like the ending to this universe, which is fine. So anyway, comment below, let me know what you thought of the movie. Subscribe if you want to see more movie reviews just like this one, and goodbye. Like,